left in the regular season for the Utah Hockey Club, coming off a big win over the Winnipeg Jets. Robyn and I are going to talk about what's going on down the stretch on the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. I'm veteran NHL voice Tom Callahan, joined by longtime team analyst Robyn Leaño. We're happy to have you on board. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every single day when it comes to the Utah Hockey Club. Big weekend win over the Winnipeg Jets, and 5 games remain in this NHL season. 2 left at home, then 3 on the road to finish things out. A little later in the show, we're going to talk about Alexander Ovechkin becoming the greatest goal scorer of all time, and we'll chat about that as he hits number 895. But Robyn, focusing on this UtahHC team here, 5 games left. We knew we'd get to this point one way or another, but just let me ask you your thoughts overall on where this team is with 5 left to go.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because, and again, we point back to a lot of our expectations going into the season, and I feel like the perspectives were varied, right? I think there are a lot of people who were on an extremely high note. We're like, oh my god, this team is going to be so much better. Look at all the talent they added. Look at all this. But I think most people kind of tend to agree, hey, this is going to be a team that's kind of flirt with the playoff spot. They're going to be right on the outside. They're going to be kind of like, you know, floating around there, and they did that. I think they met our expectations throughout this season, but I will say there were a lot of downs I would have loved to have them to have avoided. But you know, that all comes with a team that's still growing, and I think overall, I think so far as with 5 games remaining, I'm pretty satisfied with how this season went.
Here are the 5 that are remaining, in case you're curious. It is Tuesday the 8th at 7 o'clock. All these are Mountain Time. 7 o'clock against Seattle. That's home. And then at home, Thursday the 10th against the Nashville Predators to round out the home schedule. And then 3 in a row on the road. Saturday the 12th, 6 p.m. Mountain Time at Dallas. And then Monday the 14th, 6 p.m. Mountain Time at Nashville. 6 p.m. Mountain Time on the 15th, tax day, against the St. Louis Blues, a game that I know we had hoped would matter. But at this point, Robyn, looks like it won't. Tragic number, as you told me before we started this show. Yes, 1 point. So, and that is any combination of a Utah loss and at this point, what is now a Minnesota win. And as we take a look, might as well just throw it up there right now with this wild card watch graphic. Robyn, St. Louis is still surging. They're up to 93 points. They're in front of Minnesota. And by the way, this is as of about 8 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time on April 6th when we are taping this. You're likely hearing this on Monday, April 7th. So right. There was a game that was being played late Sunday night. That is Vancouver and the Golden Knights. So that one, I'm not even worried about how that pans out because at best, Vancouver goes up to 85 points. But boy, oh boy, I mean, I never would have predicted the run St. Louis is on. Minnesota's holding on. And right now, I just can't see Calgary or Vancouver getting into the conversation. I think this is it. We're set.
Yeah, it seems we're pretty set. It's going to be in this range. Minnesota just has to really kind of lock in their spot and to kind of take a look and see where, as you mentioned, the tragic number being 1 for Utah. We won't see really any activity until Utah plays Seattle on Tuesday. But even if Utah were to, let's say, win that game in regulation, the Wild will really only need to get 1 point against the Sharks to lock it in.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, isn't it? It's like, look at the quality of the opponents coming down the stretch here. So Calgary is the only team, I think, with their upcoming schedule that could make it interesting because they play the Sharks, the Ducks, and the Wild. St. Louis plays the Jets, the Oilers, and Seattle. Although Edmonton is doing their best to make their own season interesting. I don't know what's going on with the Oilers. I think you don't either.
I mean, I will add this too as an example. So to kind of let you know of exactly how close this is and how pretty much we're just right there. We said Utah's tragic number is 1, the Vancouver's tragic number is 2, and the Flames is 3.
It is. It's right on top of it. And again, I mean, that's if Minnesota and St. Louis take care of business, which they probably will. And St. Louis, yes, they have Winnipeg coming up on Monday, and Wednesday Edmonton, but then they have Seattle. They actually had them, Rob, when we talked about it. Their schedule coming out of Four Nations was the easiest out of everybody. And their credit, just because you have an easy schedule doesn't mean you take advantage of it. But St. Louis has taken advantage of it, and they've played their way not only into the wild card, but taken other teams out of it along the way.
Yeah, and leapfrogging, from the, again, they were, kind of also straggling in that line, and all of a sudden they became the hottest team in, since the Four Nations break, and now again they surpassed the second wild card spot, now into the first wild card spot. St. Louis is just falling away. Meanwhile, Minnesota is kind of free falling. They're not going to free fall enough to miss the playoffs, especially with how they, who they got down the stretch. As I mentioned, they got the Sharks on Wednesday, then they got the Flames on Friday, the Canucks on Saturday, and the Ducks on Tuesday.
Robin, I went back again, and I just do this during the Four Nations break. The standings were Colorado and Vancouver in the wild card. Minnesota was still in third in the Central. And then it was Calgary 3 points out, Utah Hockey Club 6 points out, and St. Louis was 8 points out of the wild card at that point. So since Four Nations, they have played their way from 8 points out of the wild card spot to now into the 7th position, the first, not second, wild card spot. So that's how well they've been playing down the stretch. All credit to St. Louis. Seriously, I didn't think they had it in them. Good for them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, St. Louis has been certainly something else.
They really have. And Jordan Binnington looks like Jordan Binnington from 2019 when they won the Stanley Cup. That's a huge part of it. And they've just found a way down the stretch here. But to turn our attention back to Utah, they're actually not where I wanted them to be right now. For me, because I said at the beginning of the year, I felt like they had to be in that 9 or 10 spot. They're not. They're in 11. Are they close to it? Yes. Are they in it? No. So with all the ups and downs this year, with the way everything's gone, and look, they face significant hurdles. No one could have predicted missing 4 of your top 6 defensemen for a majority of chunks of the season. So I know there are mitigating circumstances. They're not where I was hoping they would be in that like 9-10 spot. They're just on the outside of it. Who knows with a full defensive core? Oh, sure they can. And with a full defensive core, who knows if they might not have been there now or even in the wild card. And that's an answer we'll never have.
And we'll never have. And it's also a question and answer that we can't dwell on, right? If you dwell on it too much, that's how you're going to have issues looking further down. And that's one of the things that we're always told. And it's funny because like it's one of the rules we're said we can't say when we go into the previews, right? Hey, what's one of the biggest things that will mean a quote a successful season going into the season when we set up these shows and for the entire Locked On NHL network, and we can't say don't get injured and stay healthy because you can't that's something you can't control. Right. And in hindsight, you can't really use it as an excuse because you can't just dwell on it. You're like, okay, yeah, we know what happened, but we can't dwell on it.
And it happens to everybody.
Exactly.
Everyone deals with injuries. Everyone has misfortune. No one gets through perfectly healthy.
Yeah.
Although I will say,
have a bad string, even really, really terrible string of luck, and that's sometimes it just happens.
And I think Utah was one of those this year. But they do put it together. They do put it together to get a good win against the Jets, which is important. And I want to talk about that with these 5 games remaining too. Robin, I want to set some goals, some mileposts here for the remaining 5 games. So let's talk about that here in a second. All right, today's show brought to you in part by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Well, it's easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. Now, I know you've all been in the spot. I've been in the spot where you need to hire someone pretty much yesterday. The pressure's on, and then every day you don't have a person in that. As a matter of fact, we're now looking for a ticketing person with my organization. I mean, it's a setback. So that's exactly when Indeed's sponsored jobs come in handy, because they make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. And now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño. It's the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We appreciate those of you who have done so, and our everydayers out there who have stuck with us through this season, the ups, the downs. We're here, 5 games left. Robyn, I thought it was a monster win over the Jets. I kind of held my breath when they gave up that first goal in the third period a little bit, and I thought, oh boy, I hope they're able to hang on. And they did. They were able to clamp down defensively, so I was proud of them. That was a good job to finish off one of the best teams in the NHL.
It really was a good job, and I think that's kind of what we were hoping to see. That's the kind of performance we wanted to see the previous week, right, against the Florida teams. And again, you can't, we can't look back. We can't do that, but we can look back at least that Jets game. And I mean, just kudos to Veggie though. Oh my God, what a game he had.
Look, big contract brings big pressure, right? Even though it hasn't kicked in yet. Same thing with Dylan Guenther. That big contract brought big pressure, but brought big results. And that's one of the reasons why I like his response so much. Guenther came out like he was shot out of a cannon this year. Remember that? And then he disappeared for a little while. I mean, the adrenaline wore off, I think. But he's developed a steady, everyday guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's living absolutely up to it, even though it kicks in next year. So I wondered if Veg signs, do we see a little dip? I got there because he's been pushing hard this year. Let's face it. He was the goalie with Ingram's here for another year. So we talked about it all season long. What was he going to do? Robyn, kudos, because that guy has earned his cabbage.
He really has. And that's the thing too. You kind of talking about the differences. I feel like a lot of us talk about the different ways that signing a contract can go. There are some players, and again, it's it's just based off observationally. There were some players who, after signing a major contract, they just kind of be complacent. They're like, I got my money. I don't need to worry too much. I don't need to worry, especially like some defensemen or some other big players who, once they sign $11 million deals, like for $11 million AAV deals, then you're like, wait, why are we paying this defenseman $11 million a year? And
Robyn, are we talking about anybody specific? Because 11 million seems like a very specific number. I was just curious if you had anyone in mind when you brought that up.
I will choose to just leave that defenseman nameless. But those that know me specifically, and know my know some of my allegiances in the past, will know who I'm talking about. That's all I'll say.
So if you go to Puckpedia and you cross-reference defenseman and $11 million AAV contracts, you might have an answer. So, all right, I just wanted to poke the bear a little bit on that one. I know, but no, you're right though. There are those players out there who the team can lose 4-2, but if they have both goals, they're perfectly happy. I don't think those guys ever win anything unless they are accidentally dragged along by a cast of characters that's too good to succumb to that. But you have to have an awful strong room to overcome that.
Oh, absolutely. And maybe it is, for these, for the players you mentioned, like Guenther and Veggie, is saying that, okay, we have maybe the team that we're on, maybe it's the players that were around, they just harbor that kind of attitude. They bring that attitude that just they want to put out their best.
So what are your goals for the last 5 games for this team? Like, what do you want to see? Whether you want to put on your fan hat, your analyst hat, your coaching hat, you want to be GM right now. What do you want to see?
To me, I think it's just finish strong. I want to see them kind of like, even if, as like we said, we talked about the tragic number. We know it's 1. We know they're not making the playoffs, but I still want them to put out their best, their best foot forward. I still want to see them kind of work their hardest to win as much as they can, and kind of progress into the next year. Maybe see what line, maybe even if it is still tweaking the lineup and seeing, all right, let's see what happens if we put this player with here, specifically of those that are going to be around for longer. Those that we know are going to be around for the next couple of years and beyond, that are going to be a part of the Utah Hockey Club franchise for the future.
Yeah, and that's another show all by itself that we are going to get into, who stays, who goes. And actually that might be several shows, right? That's not something I think we can cover in just our normal timeline.
Oh yeah, no, there'll probably a whole show on who stays and the whole show who goes.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of digging deep into some of these players, but I will say this: if you are an undecided player, or even maybe you decided you are going to go, maybe you decided you want to stay, whatever that is, the remaining 5 games are the chance for you to make your case, to continue to make your case. Because I think once that tragic number is hit and Utah is eliminated from the postseason, what happens is there's going to be a letdown. Okay. Like especially for new fans, maybe you haven't been around this, but there is going to be a letdown, but whether the letdown goes into your next game or not, that's kind of up to each individual.
Let's be real, Tom. A lot of these guys are Utah fans. They're probably used to the Jazz not winning. I'm sorry.
Robyn said it. I did not. But my thing is now, okay, character. This is when character comes to the fore. This is when we see who they are as players, as people, how they're going to carry themselves, and what it's going to look like. So I'm interested to see that coming down from each and every single player, what the roadmap is for them personally, because I believe that dictates the attitude of the team moving forward as well. The other thing is to look, whether you make the playoffs or not, your first year in a new city is something special that very few players ever get to do, right? These guys were all part of the inaugural season of a franchise. That is a rarity. So there's a bond there. And I can understand if there's, some sense of unfinished business, but I want to know, what does that mean to you as a player who is here with this team for this first year? Is it an experience you could take or leave? How much does the community matter to you now? Are you looking forward to going somewhere else? What do you think this team can win within a window that's reasonable in your mind? There's so much that needs to come out here in these next 5 games. And I'm going to be real interested to hear all the comments, not from just Coach. I know we listen to Coach a lot. I want to hear what the guys have to say. That to me is going to be very, very telling. And I want to hear the guys with positive attitudes and good things to say, and who are looking to make the best, not only now, but in the future.
Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of what makes the Utah Club in a unique situation. And there's going to be some teams who, and we've seen it in the past, and it's where once the tragic number is hit, the remaining games are essentially just garbage time. Right. They will shuffle everything around. Maybe they'll just make some minor league call-ups. So like, you want to get your debut? You want to get your little cup of coffee? Here's your shot. That's what happens. And I will say this as an example in garbage time. Ended up working really well too. In this case, last season with the Arizona Coyotes, and Josh Stone got his call-up during the Coyotes garbage time. And it really worked out for them. He ended up playing amazing, and now look at him now. He's now playing essentially full time with the Utah Hockey Club. But
you got to take advantage of the audition.
Yeah, you got to take advantage, and that's what it is. That's what. And again, garbage time is a bad term for it, but that's kind of what it's called. That's kind of what. That's just.
It's a sports euphemism. People understand it.
Exactly. But that's how that's how it's seen, right? Where players are given the audition, they're given the opportunity, and some players will seize it. And I like when we do. I like when we do see those opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, a guy who seized on an opportunity 895 times to score a goal has finally passed Wayne Gretzky. I'm talking about Alexander Ovechkin. And Robyn, I know, well, I definitely have some feelings. I've got Ovi stories. I called games that he was in as, the voice of the Nashville Predators back in the day. So, I mean, I definitely have memories of this guy. I'm sure you've got stories as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about an absolutely incredible NHL milestone that was accomplished over the weekend here in just a moment.
And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investment, and spending all in one place, so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. I know when I started using Monarch Money, I really realized how much I was spending on food delivery. I use DoorDash and Uber Eats way too much. But now I budget smarter. It will save more. Actually able to get some grocery shopping in and make my money last longer because I'm able to keep track of that. Plus, I can see where I put my investments. I can have my 401k here, my separate IRA over there. But I can actually see everything in that app. Make it all that convenient so I don't have to juggle through all those apps to go through all that. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com/LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. And today's episode is also brought to you by Post District. It covers Post District, home to 4 of Salt Lake's newest and most stylish apartment buildings: the Register, Post House North, Post House South, and 801 Flats. Each residence offers its own unique take on luxury urban living, with features like waterfall kitchen islands, floor-to-ceiling windows, vaulted ceilings, and spacious patios, and walk-in closets. Enjoy premium amenities including the city's largest residential gym, a year-round pool, golf simulator, massive TV wall for sports, watch parties, and more, all anchored by a one-of-a-kind community. Step outside and find yourself immersed in Salt Lake's hottest dining and nightlife scene. Award-winning spots like Urban Hill, Men's Short Ramen, Level Crossing, Melancholy Wine Bar, and Sunday's Best, just steps away. Whether you're looking for a studio, 1, 2, 3-bedroom, or even a penthouse, find your perfect home today. Visit liveatpost.com or call 801-590-6247. Mention this ad for an exclusive incentive.
Look out in your future for the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast penthouse at Post District. I'm sure we're going to have one, and it's going to be decked out team colors. Robyn and I are going to just hold watch parties in the penthouse. Why not? It's going
to be great. Great time.
Yeah, no, that'll be awesome. That would be awesome. I'm not kidding you. That would be fantastic. I don't know if it's in the cards or not, but we'll see. We'll see.
Maybe an exclusive one just for watch parties that they'll let us use.
Oh yes, no, of course. One would be the living quarters, and then the other would be the watch party penthouse. No,
exactly.
Yes,
right.
I understand your point. Yes. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. No. That'd be. We'll work on that. We'll see if that one ever comes to fruition. All right, Robyn. This is something kind of crazy because I've been around long enough to remember when Alexander Ovechkin was a rookie. B, I've been through all the years of the rivalries with Sidney Crosby and the Penguins, when the Penguins beat the pants off him pretty much all the time. And then Ovi finally got his cup with Washington and managed to get that. And it seemed like everybody by that point kind of got on his bandwagon. And the guy's been through the ups and downs. Won't talk about the off-ice stuff, but just the on-ice stuff for him. He's persevered. He has been largely injury-free in his career, although he did have a little bit of a battle with it earlier this year. So good health has certainly helped him out. The guy is not afraid to shoot the puck. And now, 895 times that puck has found the back of the net. That is the most goals in NHL history as he surpasses Wayne Gretzky's 894. What does that mean to you?
Oh, man, it's just amazing to be able to be a part of, witnessing history like that, right? To say someone who's essentially transcended my entire life of a hockey fan, right? I mean, Alex Ovechkin was drafted in the early 2000s when I started watching hockey, right? So that's all I knew. I pretty much knew Alex Ovechkin from when I first became a hockey fan and all throughout to now being a hockey podcaster. And I just loved anytime I had the opportunity to talk about him, to talk about as you mentioned, the rivalry between him and Sid, to see everything he's gone through, as you mentioned, the cup and his first cup and everything. I'm like, okay, this dude has been a huge part of hockey. Making it to 895, is historic. Something that I feel like we might not ever see again.
It was interesting. They were talking about how long, each of them held the record. Of course, Gordie Howe first retired as the all-time NHL goals leader. Then Wayne Gretzky surpassed him, and Wayne got to 894, now 895. And who knows where Ovechkin's going to stop, if he's going to play a couple more seasons or not. He said he felt like he could play a couple more seasons, and he's already over 40 goals this year. It'd be crazy if he got to 50 in the remaining schedule, but I'm not putting it past him. He could tack on another 100 goals, maybe even another 130 goals before he's done playing. He could get to 1,000. He could.
We're talking about a player who even in his late 30s can easily put up, 40, 50 goal seasons. It is absolutely amazing. It shows that that age doesn't matter, that he just doesn't stop, that you just put the right mindset. And I feel like that's kind of what the biggest thing is. You put that mindset in you of someone, you just want to be the best. It comes to fruition and it becomes a reality, right? He just works hard every single day.
You have to. Yeah, I mean, and you have to here's the other thing. You have to love it.
Mm-hmm.
Even on days when you don't like it, even on days when you don't want it, you have to love it to keep coming back to it. And he's been driven by the singular focus this year to become the best goal scorer that's ever laced up a pair of skates. He's hit that goal. And now, because the milestone is 895, so his next milestone is going to be 900, and I guarantee you he's going to push for it this year. But after that, that's why I think he might play until he hits 1,000, because he has some neat little organized numbers to hit that'll motivate him for the next 2 or 3 years. And I think he could probably do it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I was talking about this to you, Tom, previously, is that 895 number is for regular season career goals. And Gretzky still holds the record for regular season and playoff combined. And it would take a fair amount of shots and an extra amount of goals for Ovi to even get close to that. But I know he's going to try. For that.
The thing that Gretzky had going for him, though, deep runs. He had deep runs often. So, I mean, when you play on a team that they won 3 cups while he was there, but then even with LA, they made that one run all the way to the cup. If folks remember that, they lost to the Canadians in 93. Then, with, a bunch of it. It's weird to think of him as anything but really an Oiler or a King, but he was a Ranger. He was a St. Louis Blue, which is weird that didn't work out better. But just, you think of Gretzky and you think playoffs. You think and even before they won a cup in Edmonton, they made some runs against the Islanders, and they came up short in the finals against the Islanders in 83. And I think that really taught that Oilers team what it took to win the end of those 4 Islander Cups. So, that's what he had going for him. Is Washington in a position to make deep playoff runs? Well, the regular season right now would indicate that maybe they are in a position to give another deep run.
Oh, they very well could. And you just kind of reminded me, and I think this is also kind of what makes this moment all that more special, is all of those goals were as a member of the Washington Capitals.
Right. Remember when there was talk for a while, would he finish as a Capital? Would he go somewhere else if they couldn't win a cup? That was very real speculation. I mean, there was, because he had a hard time going over that hump. He really did. And I feel like so many people was like, is at some point, is he's just going to find out a way, look to win the Stanley Cup with somebody else?
he ended up winning the Stanley Cup as a member of the Washington Capitals in, was that 2018? Yeah, 2018.
Yep.
That was an amazing year. Like, do you remember just like you just looked at the pure face of joy when he held that cup alongside the commissioner?
Yeah, that was the culmination of everything that, you know, hadn't worked in the past. All the frustration, all the disappointment, everything that didn't work out was gone in that moment.
Yep. And then now it seems like very much so. He finished his career as a member of the Capitals, but who knows how much longer he's going to stick around for, though.
Yeah. Well, and that's it.
Like,
I mean, his body will tell him one way or another.
I mean, we've seen players. We've players stick around for longer. We're looking at you, Yager.
Yeah, Yogs is still trying to come back to the NHL, and I would not be surprised if he showed up somewhere next year. Maybe they get him in Utah. That'd be wild. Oh my goodness, if they brought Jaromir Jagr to Utah,
that would be something.
He said, okay, Jagr, just a quick thing. In passing in an interview, he said that his dad told him that he didn't feel his strongest in life until he was 55 years old. That's his dad. His dad told him he felt he was the strongest he ever was in his life at 55. And Jagr believes that.
I mean, didn't Mr. Hockey stick around and playing professional hockey for like until his 50s?
He did. He retired at 51. He had his grandson on his knee when he retired. Yeah, he retired in the early 80s. He played in 5 decades. He started in 1949 with the Red Wings. Played in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. That's wild.
There's a reason why they call him Mr. Hockey.
That's right. That's right. So, Robyn, any final thoughts on Ovi at 895 or Utah Hockey Club, or how do you want to wrap this one? The floor is yours.
No, I feel like, and again, it's just saying that Ovi making this record is a good thing for all of hockey. I think a lot of us were really glad to enjoy it. And like, it just shows that, hey, there is something that we can all enjoy for hockey, and let's keep that going. And maybe we can find something and rally behind for the Utah Hockey Club to just keep this immense amount of passion for hockey going.
So what I heard was Jagr to Utah. Okay, good. So we'll say hashtag Jagr to Utah. We will start that trend going right now. I'd be curious. Anybody wants to throw that down in the comments? Do you want
Jagr as a member of the Utah Mammoth? Calling it now.
He would look like the mascot. Have you seen him? He's got the salt and pepper going now with the beard and everything. He would, whatever mascot they come up with, he could be the mascot. Yeah, that would be awesome. The emblem is just his face. We could do it. So we still don't know where we're going to be next year anyway. We'll find out. But all right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this version of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. I want to say thanks to everybody for tuning us in. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We appreciate you being here. We will come your way once again tomorrow. Thanks for being a part of it. For Robyn, I'm Tom. This has been the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.